Right now, I am in the city of Birmingham, Alabama. And if you were to go back into the archives of the History Traveler series, well, you would find a video that I did here a while back that focused around a tragic event that happened at this church right here. This is the 16th Street Baptist Church, where in September of 1963, terrorists set off a bomb that killed 4 little girls. Birmingham in the 1960s was just a hotbed of racial violence. It was also kind of one of the epicenters of the civil rights movement. Well, today we are back in Birmingham, and we're going to be looking at a couple of other sites here that are closely associated with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the civil rights movement. So the terrorist incident that killed the 4 little girls here at the 16th Street Baptist Church occurred in September of 1963. But there was another pretty well-known event that happened in April of that same year that would lead to probably one of the most famous documents in American history, Martin Luther King's letter from Birmingham Jail. We've moved just down the street from the 16th Street Baptist Church, and where we are now in 1963 would have been the site of the 6th Avenue Zion Hill Baptist Church, which is now called the Deliverance Temple. So the 6th Avenue Zion Hill Baptist Church was a place where there were a lot of strategy sessions and mass meetings for the Birmingham movement of the civil rights movement. And it was the departure point for a march on April 12th of 1963, which that year would have been Good Friday. That was going to be going to City Hall. So that day, the march would have set out from here and would have gone down this road here. 16th Street Baptist Church is right up there. We're going to go back there in just a second. And the march was being led by 3 men who were known as the Big Three in the civil rights movement. That would be Fred Shuttlesworth, Ralph Abernathy, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And as the march was making its way down towards the 16th Street Baptist Church to the square known as Kelly Ingram Park, well, they were going to run into some problems. So the march on April 12th would have continued down 6th Street here, and again would have come right in front of the 16th Street Baptist Church. And as the marchers approached Kelly Ingram Park here, well, what they would have found is that the Birmingham police had set up a barricade keeping them from getting to the area of City Hall. Now what they are going to do is just go around. Now, this area was the scene of multiple incidents of violence during the civil rights era. So just kind of departing from the march here for just a second, here we are looking at a sculpture of the 4 girls who were killed in the bombing attack later that year in September of 1963. Okay, so if we go down here, well, this sculpture is called the 4 Spirits, and here we see a photo of Cynthia Wesley. Here it says that she was a Girl Scout, loved reading, sang in choir, ushered in the church service, played the piano. Denise McNair wanted to go to work in the field of social work. Addie Mae Collins says that she loved sports, softball was her favorite, and enjoyed helping others. And then Carol Robertson. It says here also a Girl Scout, straight A student, was in band and science club, and Jack and Jill of America member. Okay, and then it also memorializes other kids who were killed in that same time vicinity: Virgil Ware, Johnny Robinson, and also Sarah Collins, who was wounded in the bombing and blinded in her right eye. So Birmingham had received the nickname Bombingham from all of the bombings that were taking place here. So again, when you're talking about the civil rights era, Birmingham in many ways was kind of ground zero in the struggle for equality. And that day, when Martin Luther King and Ralph Abernathy and the other civil rights protesters were marching to this area, well, they would have been met by Bull Connor and the Birmingham police and a whole bunch of police dogs. All right, they have a few other memorials and monuments here in this park that I want to look at before we move on. Here in the park, they have a monument to the participants in something called the Children's Crusade. So on May 2nd of 1963, there were over 1,000 students who skipped school and were going to march on the downtown area. And where they gathered at was the 16th Street Baptist Church. So Bull Connor, again, this is going to be a site of violence on a number of occasions. Bull Connor ended up responding by jailing more than 600 of the children that day. So the next day there were another 1,000 students that were in this park where we are currently standing. So anyway, with the jail cells full, and kind of, it says, on the plaque with his back up against the wall, well, Bull Connor is going to respond with violence. Okay, so here it says, "I ain't afraid of your jail," and it shows these school kids here. And then if we look here, one thing that you might miss if you aren't looking, and this may be a little bit hard to see, but upside down it says, "Segregation is a sin." So kind of illustrating the upside down nature of segregation. Here's a monument that echoes to one of the enduring symbols of the civil rights movement here in Birmingham, and that is police dogs. So here we see this police officer with a German Shepherd attacking this individual who is not resisting and is practicing non-violence. So where Bull Connor was trying to use violence and intimidation, it turned out that his methods actually backfired, because you would have photographers and TV cameras here, and when these images went out to the nation and people were seeing what was happening here in Birmingham, well, it ended up creating more people who were sympathetic to the cause of these people who were fighting for equal rights and an end to segregation and violence here in Birmingham. As you walk through this square, well, your path takes you through another memorial here, where you have these vicious looking attack dogs that are flanking you to the right and to the left. Again, echoing the violence and intimidation that was faced by the civil rights marchers who marched through this area. Another enduring symbol here in Birmingham from the 1960s would be water cannons. So police, you can see a lot of photos and film footage of water cannons being used against marchers and peaceful protesters. And that's what this monument harkens back to. So here you can see this young man and this young woman who are obviously being hit with one of these water cannons and are crouching or turning their back in order to protect themselves. And here in the middle of the park, as you might expect, they have a statue of Martin Luther King Jr. Now, on April 12th of 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. and the marchers are going to bypass the barricades. They're going to go over on 5th Street. And as they start making their way down toward City Hall, well, that is where Martin Luther King Jr. is going to be arrested. He is going to be placed in the Birmingham Jail, where he is going to write the famous letter from Birmingham Jail, which was an open letter that was written while he was imprisoned to 8 white clergymen who had been critical of his methods of, nonviolent protest. They were saying that it was unwise and untimely. So in Martin Luther King's letter, he's addressing these white clergymen and basically arguing that individuals have a moral obligation to disobey unjust laws. Okay, it's where and at first he's explaining why he is here, even though he's from Atlanta. And then he has the famous line where injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. In it, he's going to quote, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln. He's going to, kind of walk through different passages in the Bible. He's going to quote the church father, St. Augustine. And it's going to go down as one of the most important documents in U.S. history, and is going to be foundational in the civil rights movement. Now, 1963 was not the only time that Martin Luther King Jr. would be arrested. And it's not just in 1963 where he's going to be arrested in Birmingham. Okay, there are going to be other times where he is going to be arrested in the city of Birmingham and serve time in jail. And that is going to be the main focus of what we are looking at today. All right, well, we have moved just a little bit, and we are now currently standing in the square where you would find City Hall and the building here behind me, the Jefferson County Courthouse. This is the area where a lot of the civil rights marches in Birmingham would terminate. And right back here at the courthouse is going to be the place where in the fall of 1967, Martin Luther King would be jailed for the very last time. And I'm pretty excited because today we're going to be meeting up with the county commissioner, a woman by the name of Lashunda, and she is going to be taking us on a little bit of a tour showing the final jail cell of Martin Luther King Jr.
We're here today to talk about in Jefferson County, Alabama, the last 2 remaining jail cells where Dr. King was arrested. This is, believe it or not, the final arrest of the civil rights movement for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So I want to show you, this arrest came about because in the city of Birmingham, they had to have a parade permit. And that was what it was referred to at that particular time. And so they were marching. In 1967, actually, is when he was arrested. But nevertheless, the bombing of the 4 little girls, obviously it caused an uproar in the United States. And so here you're going to see this photo where Dr. King is being escorted by our former sheriff, which is David Orange. This is an actual article from our local newspaper showing Dr. King being escorted off of the plane to what would then be the Bessemer County Jail, which is a part or facility of Jefferson County. Right here, you will see there's a booking docket. And we like for our visitors to see, here is Dr. King's name. He's actually 3048, and you will see all of his information right there, okay? And so he was also accompanied by several people, including his brother, which we will refer to as AD. And AD, you'll be able to see right here, is Dr. King's brother. He too had to report to Birmingham Jail. You'll see that the date is 1967, which is October 30th. And just to tell you a little bit about that story, Dr. King, even though he was escorted off the plane, he and his brother and several other civil rights activists, they reported there, but eventually, as you will see, they had to come to Birmingham, which is the Jefferson County Jail. Also, you have civil rights activist Reverend Ralph Abernathy. Again, you see the date, and then you see on this photo right here, Bessemer, Alabama. Right here, you will see Dr. King's actual booking card. And so you'll see that this is Dr. King, his name, his address, the date that he was arrested. It even lists the offense. At the time, Dr. King was 38 years old. And then it tells you basically his address in terms of in Georgia. When you come here, also you have from Oklahoma, Reverend Wade Watts, who also was very active in the civil rights movement. Again, you'll see on this booking photo, Bessemer, Alabama, October 30th, 1967. At that particular time, our way of what we talk about cell phones today, but telegrams was your quickest way outside of, you know, the pony as they called it, and that's just your typical mail, right? Well, here in 67, you will see Muhammad Ali, heavyweight boxer of the world, right? And you see where he is writing to Dr. King and he says, "Hope that you are comfortable, not suffering," Muhammad Ali. So this is an official telegram from the late Muhammad Ali, our heavyweight champion of the world. So right here, this photo, Dr. King is quoted as saying, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." And so Dr. King is looking out of a window. This is going to be very critical to what we're talking about, because when you see it later on in this documentary, you will see that there's a window that we believe that Dr. King looked out of in this very jail. So I'm going up. Again here, when you come out of the jail cells, we have this same photo. And now I'm going to take you on a tour of what the jail cell itself looks like. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to let you see how, as I wind this up, it literally still works to this day. You see that? Incredible, right? So I'm going to undo it again, and then you and I are going to go and walk inside. So remember, I was talking about a window. We believe that Dr. King was looking out of this window, which now is a parking lot across the street. It was a white prominent church that sat in that parking lot. And Dr. King, we believe, was looking out of this particular window. I want you to see when he, as in Muhammad Ali was talking about that you're comfortable and not suffering. This is what he had to sleep on. So I want you to see that. And also look at this room. The room is very small, and this is where inmates with an S were housed. And you can see right here, you didn't go out of this cell. If you had to utilize the restroom, this is the restroom you had to use.
I want to give a quick look at the jail cell from this angle. So again, very tight in here, and again, Here is the bed that Martin Luther King would have had to lay down on, and as we've already mentioned, not so comfortable. It's just a big hunk of metal there. And then, as you can see, also really little to no privacy here. So you have a sink and access to water that is built right into this toilet here.
So I'm coming out, and here is the second. Remember that there are only 2 jail cells that are left remaining on this floor for this purpose. And when I say purpose, it's for the purpose of the history of it. So here's the other cell, looks just like the other, but is very uncomfortable. So right here, we talk about at the top, last remaining jail cells to the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And it was memorialized when I, in my second term, well, basically my first term, but second year, January 9th, 2020. So long history in the waiting. But I want to also share this with you too. You look here. This is where they took their showers. A horrible place to take a shower, by the way. And this is that. And I'm going to take you around to where solitary confinement, for those inmates, obviously, who, if they got out of line while they were detained here, you go inside and there is absolutely no light whatsoever. So typically when students come in, I tell them about this place, and when I show them, I close the door. And when they come out, it's like, wow, because there is no light. And you hear that? That's what inmates had to endure here. So there is no light. This was locked. In addition to that, they had no heating and air like we know today. If they were in the winter months, they would have to warm, as in this cell, by this one radiator. So just imagine that. And for those of you all that don't know what a radiator is, look it up. Not the typical radiator underneath your hood, but this is what they use in the South. And this is how they kept this area warm, if it was warm at all.
All right, so what do we got going on?
Okay, so what we're doing right now is that as I wind this up, it's going to lock that door. And then when I go in the opposite direction, which is hard to do, but then you notice is that it opens up.
Yeah, so here, this big old door is like, I can't even put into words how heavy this door is.
So that door, just imagine, you're in a jail cell, and this door closes on you, and you literally have to give it some real strength.
Yeah.
And there I am. There we go. And literally, if I am here, and even if they let you out, they would only allow you to be able to receive food, mail, or whatever that you were supposed to receive through here. And they kept this door locked at all times. So even if you tried to escape the jail cell itself, which is pretty much hard to do, you couldn't get past this door. And remember, when you push it, you have to really, really push it in order to open the door. So someone would have been alerted if you even attempted to escape.
One other thing that I want to mention before we leave here, on this floor, well, this primarily is a storage area. So this floor was largely storage for the county for years. Still remains a storage area. But Lashunda and her team are some of my favorite people because they are passionate about history, they are passionate about preservation, and basically transformed a part of this area from storage to really a museum that you can come to and that you can step into history and immerse yourself in the history of the civil rights movement and see the last place where Martin Luther King Jr. himself was jailed. All right, well, there you go. That was a little bit showing the final place where Martin Luther King was jailed before his death in April of 1968. I have thoroughly enjoyed my time here. Birmingham is a city that is just rich in history. And if you ever come here, you definitely need to reach out to the Commissioner's office and make this one of your stops and see one of the more prominent but maybe lesser seen spots in the history of the civil rights movement.